Alright, so I've made a video ranking the Best Actor Oscar wins of the 2010s. Now it's time to rank Best Actress. Hi, it's Brian. Welcome to the Awards Contender, and it's time for me to give you my Oscar ranking of the Best Actress wins of the 2010s. Let's start with number 10, Meryl Streep, The Iron Lady.
If you live in this country, you must pay for the privilege, something, anything. If you pay nothing, you care nothing. What do you care where you throw your rubbish?
So it pains me to have Meryl Streep listed last on this list, but when I was going through the Best Actress Oscar wins of this decade, I was like, Streep's at the bottom. Like it is, like it's at the bottom, which is so just... Ugh, I mean, I've been making so much Meryl Streep content lately for the channel. I mean, the last two videos I made were celebrating her many Oscar nominations and performances that didn't get Oscar nominations. And here I am throwing her under the bus, starting with number 10. But here's the thing, it's not that she gives a bad performance in The Iron Lady. Meryl Streep is excellent in that film. Like, she is bringing it, not just the prosthetics and the makeup and the voice. Like, she is very good in that movie. The reason I have this one at the bottom is kind of two reasons. One, I just don't like that movie very much. I have watched it 2 or 3 times. Every time I revisit it, I'm like, maybe it will be better this time, and like, no. Like, this movie... I don't know what happened with The Iron Lady. It is a slog of a narrative, and the screenplay just doesn't do Meryl Streep any favors. She is doing her best, and it's a solid performance. It's not a bad performance. I just think if Meryl Streep was finally going to win her 3rd Academy Award after nearly 30 years, it should have been for a performance that was better than this one, especially a movie that was a lot better than The Iron Lady. Like, imagine if her 3rd Oscar win had been for Adaptation, or The Devil Wears Prada, or Doubt, or Julie and Julia. Any one of those would have been way better than this. And the other reason why I rank this win dead last is that I would have preferred pretty much anyone else in her category to have won, like Viola Davis for The Help. I feel like she should have an Oscar win and Best Actress by now. Michelle Williams could have finally won for My Week with Marilyn. Rooney Mara in The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo is so bonkers great. And even Glenn Close for Albert Nobbs, that's not one of my favorite performances of hers, but then Close would have gotten an Oscar for something. So I don't know, I've talked about this race in a video. I have mixed feelings about Meryl Streep's Oscar win for The Iron Lady. It just felt like the wrong timing in a way. I adore her first 2 Oscar wins for Kramer vs. Kramer and Sophie's Choice. Sophie's Choice is my favorite acting Oscar win of all time. The Iron Lady, like, doesn't even come close.
The thing that counts the most with me is the friendships and the love and the sheer joy we have shared making movies together.
Number 9, Julianne Moore, Still Alice.
And now sometimes I can see the words hanging in front of me and I can't reach them and I don't know who I am and I don't know what I'm gonna lose next.
Now, I don't know if you watched my Best Actor ranking video of the 2010s, but I wasn't really in love with any of those performances. I talked in that video on more than one occasion, I'd say, that most of the Best Actor Oscar wins of the 2010s were kind of a shrug, but now with the Best Actress ranking, it's almost the complete opposite, because my number 9 choice, Julianne Moore for Still Alice, I think is a better Oscar win than pretty much any of the Best Actor wins that decade. I mean, having this at number 9 tells you that there were some monumental Oscar wins in Best Actress that decade, which we're going to get to. So why do I have Moore so close to the bottom? Again, kind of like with Streep and The Iron Lady, it's not that Moore is bad in Still Alice. She's very good in that movie. I only saw it the one time, but I was pretty taken by her performance. It's very emotional, very raw. But as I talked about in my Julianne Moore Oscar ranking video, I just don't think this is one of her better nominations. Julianne Moore sweeping that award season in early 2015 felt like an obvious coronation, not so much about the quality of her performance in the film. The whole thing felt to me like, oh shit, we never gave Julianne Moore an Oscar. We better fix that. Let's do that this year. There's not like a strong enough contender in the Best Actress field, even though I do think Rosamund Pike for Gone Girl was definitely a strong contender and should have won a couple things. But I would admit, in Best Actress of the 2010s, the weakest lineup of those 10 years is the nominees for 2014. Rosamund Pike aside, like no one else could have possibly won that. So it just felt like, well, let's give Julianne Moore an Academy Award. She's one of our greatest. Her movie doesn't get into any other category. Nobody really celebrates the film itself, but everyone's like, who cares? It's Julianne Moore's time. And there's just something I don't really love about how she won that Academy Award. Not that it felt bought or anything. I just didn't have a lot of passion for that win the way I did for many of the Best Actress victories of the decade. And it's still very weird to me, I don't know about you, how easy it was for Julianne Moore to win that Oscar for Still Alice, when 4 years later the also criminally overdue Glenn Close got very close to winning her Oscar for The Wife, and it didn't happen. I don't know, like with Streep and The Iron Lady, I do have some mixed feelings about Moore's win for Still Alice.
My mother and father who told me that I could be whatever I wanted to be if I got an education, although I didn't think they meant being an actress.
Number 8, Jennifer Lawrence, Silver Linings Playbook.
You think that I'm why today's happened.
That's right, you are why today's
I'm the reason why today happened.
I think so.
Let's talk about that.
So I've also made a video about this Oscar race, and yeah, I was rooting for other people that season than Jennifer Lawrence in Silver Linings Playbook, even though she gives a great performance in that movie. She's very good in Silver Linings Playbook. She has a range of emotions, she's wild, she's unpredictable, she's sweet at times, and then she goes off on Bradley Cooper in the most unexpected of ways. She is often a thrill to watch in that movie, and she had an amazing 2012, not only Silver Linings Playbook, but also The Hunger Games. So her Oscar win in early 2013 made sense. Silver Linings Playbook got into what, like 10 categories? It got into all 4 acting categories at the Oscars. It seemed like it was going to win something, and Lawrence got the SAG award, so it seemed likely. But back then, and still to this day, honestly, I would have preferred Naomi Watts win for The Impossible. I love her in that movie. Quvenzhané Wallis in Beasts of the Southern Wild is incredible. Jessica Chastain's best performance on film, I think, is still Zero Dark 30, and she won at Golden Globes and at Critics' Choice, and could have had a shot to win the Oscar, but there were some shenanigans going on behind the scenes with that movie, and it kind of lost momentum by the time we got to the second half of award season. And Emmanuelle Riva in Amour, I really thought that was going to happen. After her BAFTA win, I was like, I think she's going to surprise us. I think she's going to beat Jennifer Lawrence. And then it didn't happen, and it just, I don't know, it felt kind of disappointing when Lawrence won. I was like, okay, but we could have done something really cool here. Emmanuelle Riva for Amour. Like, that Oscar win would have aged like fine wine. It would probably be in my top 3 of the decade. It wouldn't be in number 8, I'll tell you that much. However, at the end of the day, I like this Oscar win for Jennifer Lawrence. I'm happy she has a gold trophy. She's been doing great work for many years. It's just, in this decade, not one of my favorites.
You guys are just standing up because you feel bad that I fell, and that's really embarrassing, but thank you. This is nuts.
Number 7, Renee Zellweger, Judy.
Anybody who's different, they can't stand it. Well, to hell with them.
I bet I surprised you on this one, am I right? You were probably expecting Renee Zellweger's Oscar win for Judy to be number 10 or number 9. I do have it a little bit higher than some people might have expected, because to be honest, I might be a little bit of an outlier on this one. I like the Renee Zellweger Oscar victory for Judy. I think she is exceptional in that movie. I thought she really captured the essence of Judy Garland in her scenes of dialogue, when she's singing and performing on the stage. I did forget after a while I was looking at Renee Zellweger. I thought she completely disappeared into that role. I don't always love acting Oscar wins when they're just playing a real person in a biopic. Like, Judy isn't a great movie. The reason I have this at number 7 and not like 5 or 4 or 3 or something is that I've only seen the movie twice, and I liked it a little bit less the second time. The movie itself is just fine, but I do think her performance is pretty extraordinary. Like, she's very, very good in that movie. So unlike her Best Supporting Actress Oscar win for Cold Mountain in 2004, which I have named the worst acting Oscar win of all time, I hate that performance. I hate that win. It just felt like a makeup Oscar for her not winning the year before for Chicago. The whole thing felt very cynical to me. I do not like that Oscar win at all. But her Oscar win in Best Actress for Judy, even though I wouldn't say I love it, I would say I really like it. I'm fine with it. There's no one else in her category that year I felt deserved it over Zellweger. Scarlett Johansson is excellent in Marriage Story, and Saoirse Ronan is also very good in Little Women. Saoirse Ronan now has 4 Oscar nominations as of this recording. I mean, yes, it would have been cool to have seen Ronan finally win an Oscar, even though she's very young. But ultimately, I just didn't have a lot of passion for the other performances in this category, so Renee Zellweger winning for Judy, that win can stay.
Thank you for inviting me here alongside one of the most special collaborations and meaningful experiences of my life.
Number 6, Emma Stone, La La Land.
Or there's people sitting in the waiting room and they're like me but prettier and better because maybe I'm not good enough.
So, as we all know, Emma Stone now has 2 Academy Award wins for Best Actress. I love that second win for Poor Things. I do think it's one of the best victories in this category we've had in the last 20 to 30 years. That is an all-timer win for Best Actress, but then you go back to her first win for La La Land, and it's good. Like, it's not at the bottom of my ranking. It's around the middle. I adore that movie. I adore her in it. She sings, she dances, she's funny, she's emotional, dramatic. I mean, she gets to do a range of things with that character in La La Land. Her chemistry with Ryan Gosling has always been off the charts, but it's especially effective in that film. So yeah, I don't really have anything negative to say about this Oscar win for Emma Stone. She is great in that movie. I have revisited La La Land multiple times. Part of me doesn't even know what it is. In early 2017 and today, I don't love that win the way I love the top 2 or 3 I'm going to talk about here later in the video. When it comes to Best Actress of 2016, I'm still very frustrated by that big Oscar snub for Amy Adams in Arrival. Amy Adams is so good in that, and then the people who did get into Best Actress at the Oscars that year, outside of Meryl Streep for Florence Foster Jenkins, which is not one of the better Meryl Streep nominations, for the win, I would have preferred any of the other 3, Ruth Negga for Loving and Isabelle Huppert for Elle, and especially, even though she wasn't there, Natalie Portman for Jackie. Oh my god, Natalie Portman is on another level in that film. But again, Emma Stone taking this one for La La Land is not a bad win in any way. She's great in that movie. I adore her performance, but her better Oscar victory by a mile is for Poor Things.
I still have a lot of growing and learning and work to do, and this guy is a really beautiful symbol to continue on that journey, and I am so grateful for that.
Number 5, Brie Larson, Room.
He was trying to trick me, okay? There wasn't a dog. Old Nick stole me.
I want a different story!
No, this is the story that you get.
Now here's an Oscar win I haven't talked about on the channel very much. there hasn't been much reason to bring up this Oscar victory for Brie Larson. This was her first Oscar nomination and win, and she hasn't been back to the Oscars as a nominee since. She got into the Marvel scene. Captain Marvel has done a lot of movies in that arena, has done some work on television. I've been meaning to see Lessons in Chemistry on Apple TV+. But I feel like because this was kind of a one and done Oscar win for Larson, that she hasn't had an extraordinary film performance since. I do think that's why this particular victory in Best Actress isn't talked about as much as some of the others of that decade. But come on, this is an exceptional Best Actress victory at the Oscars. She is incredible in Room. Her strength, her vulnerability, her relationship with her son, played by Jacob Tremblay, who is also extraordinary in that film and deserved an Oscar nomination. I didn't know much about Room when I went to see it, and I was completely floored by the movie itself. It's so captivating. The cinematography, the sense of place in that one, I mean, hello. And those performances by both Larson and Tremblay are fantastic, and I'm so happy that Brie Larson's work in this movie wasn't overlooked. I feel like if Room had come out at a different time of the year, if the wrong studio had picked it up, it is possible, I would say, Larson's performance could have been snubbed at the Academy Awards, the same way her amazing performance in Short Term 12 from 2 years before was overlooked. This year in Best Actress, there's no one else in her category I would have given the gold trophy to instead. I mean, maybe Charlotte Rampling in 45 Years. She gives a haunting performance in that film, and Cate Blanchett in Carol. That is another one of her phenomenal performances, but she had just won 2 years before for Blue Jasmine. Ultimately, the best performance in the category won that year, Brie Larson for Room.
Thank you to all of you who saw it. Thank you to the fans. Thank you to the moviegoers. Thank you for going to the theater and seeing our films. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Number 4, Olivia Colman, The Favourite.
Did you just look at me? Did you? Look at me! Look at me! How dare you! Close your eyes!
Now, what a surprise this was. Olivia Colman winning Best Actress for The Favourite in early 2019. I mean, there might have been some people predicting that. She did win at the Golden Globes in Comedy or Musical, and she won at BAFTA. But I think most of us were predicting Glenn Close was finally going to win her elusive Academy Award on her 7th try for The Wife after she won at Golden Globes in drama and at SAG, and she tied at Critics' Choice with Lady Gaga for A Star Is Born. It just felt like it was Glenn Close's time. Her movie didn't get any other Oscar nomination, but Still Alice, which won Julianne Moore an Oscar 4 years prior, also didn't have any other nominations. So I didn't think that was going to hurt Glenn Close in the end. She was so criminally overdue. She's very good in The Wife. She's wearing gold the night of the Oscars. I think Close thought she was going to win that one after many decades in the industry, after so many nominations, and I was excited for her. I was very, very excited to see Glenn Close finally get her Oscar. And so when Frances McDormand said, Olivia Colman, I was like, oh my, what? What did she just say? Holy shit. Oh, I felt so bad for Glenn Close in that moment. You know, she wanted it. She expected it, especially after that SAG win, I would say. Winning at SAG almost always translates to an Oscar victory. So you can bet she had a speech prepared, she was ready to go up there, and I was so devastated for her in that moment. But then something started to shift over the next couple minutes as Olivia Colman started talking and delivering what has become one of the greatest Oscar speeches of the last 20 years, easily. She is so charming and self-deprecating and hilarious in those, 4 or 5 minutes of her speech. I would say it is the Oscar speech I have watched more than any other. Like, anytime I just want to pick me up, I'll watch Olivia Colman's acceptance speech for Best Actress. Like, it's just everything about it. Every little piece of that video, what she says, her mannerisms, are just so fantastic. And as the years have passed, my disappointment for Glenn Close losing that night has evaporated. And now I really do think this is one of the finest victories in Best Actress that decade. I love The Favorite with my whole heart. Olivia Colman and Emma Stone and Rachel Weisz in that movie are so great. Colman especially, her emotion, her humor, her witty dialogue, the way she carries herself, the way she looks. Like, it's a truly original performance, and I mean, I guess you could argue category fraud here, as I've talked about in a recent video. Like, is Olivia Colman lead and not supporting? Should Emma Stone be in lead actress and Olivia Colman should be in supporting? I don't know. As I've talked about before, category fraud doesn't bother me when it comes to lead, like Anthony Hopkins for The Silence of the Lambs and that kind of a thing. It's so much harder to win an Oscar for a performance in lead actor or lead actress when you're not in the movie very much, that I kind of admire it. And Olivia Colman is so fantastic in The Favorite. I love her speech so much. She's such a dynamite actress and human being. I still very much want Glenn Close to win her elusive Oscar someday soon, but this Best Actress victory, it worked out in the end. It went to the right person in the end, Olivia Colman for The Favorite.
My kids are at home and watching, look. Well, if you're not, then well done, but I sort of hope you are.
Number 3, Frances McDormand, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
You know who threw that can?
What can?
How about you, sweetheart? You know who threw that can?
No, I didn't really see.
In the fall of 2017, I went nuts for this movie and this performance by McDormand. There had been a couple months, maybe 3 or 4 even, where I hadn't liked very much of what I was seeing in the theater. I remember hearing good things about 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri after its film festival run in September. And then when it came to my town, I went opening weekend knowing almost nothing. I didn't really know what the plot of the movie was, who McDormand played in it. I had just been hearing some rave reviews, so I said, let's go check this one out. And I was just bowled over by this thing. I was so impressed with the acting, the writing, the directing. It's such a fun movie. I love the comedy and the drama. Woody Harrelson is very good in that film. Sam Rockwell is amazing. I was so happy to see him win an Oscar for his performance. And then Frances McDormand is a force of nature in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Whenever she is on screen, which is most of the running time, you cannot look away. Her dialogue delivery, her comebacks, some of it's shocking, some of it's hilarious, all of it is memorable. And I walked out of that theater and I said, Frances McDormand is coming for Oscar win number 2, and it happened, and I was delighted to see it. There are other great performances in her category that year. Meryl Streep in The Post. I do think that's her best Oscar nomination of the 2010s. Sally Hawkins in The Shape of Water and Margot Robbie in I, Tonya. Both are great performances, and a very close runner-up to McDormand that year was Saoirse Ronan for Lady Bird. I do think of Ronan's 4 Oscar nominations, that's the best one. And it's like, in hindsight, okay, McDormand already won Best Actress in the 90s for Fargo, and that was an amazing victory. And then in 2021, she wins Best Actress again for Nomadland. I feel like if we knew we were going to give McDormand another Oscar victory in this category for Nomadland, maybe Saoirse Ronan would have won for Lady Bird. But McDormand in 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri is so colossally great. Like, just an extraordinary piece of acting that was always going to win the Oscar. There was no doubt that whole season she had this one in the bag very early on, I'd say, even before the Golden Globes and SAG and stuff. Anybody who saw that movie in the fall of 2017 knew it in their hearts. McDormand was winning Best Actress.
Okay. So I'm hyperventilating a little bit. If I fall over, pick me up because I've got some things to say.
Number 2, Cate Blanchett, Blue Jasmine.
You know, here's one of these men who's lost without a woman. But it has to be the right woman. You know, one who's a plus for his career. Now, I have the social skills required for his future in politics.
What else is there to say about this Best Actress win at the Oscars for Cate Blanchett in Blue Jasmine? I mean, it's just a remarkable performance for the ages. One of the best acting Oscar wins easily of the 21st century. We all knew Cate Blanchett was coming for a Best Actress Oscar win. We didn't know for what movie, for what role, but as soon as people started watching Blue Jasmine in the summer of 2013, I do think that Best Actress race was over. By August, September, even before the fall and winter movies came out that year, Gravity, starring Sandra Bullock, and Philomena, starring Judi Dench, and August Osage County, starring Meryl Streep, and American Hustle, starring Amy Adams, there was just no race this year. Cate Blanchett already had an Oscar victory, but it was in Supporting Actress, and she had been the lead in a lot of movies going back to the 90s. Elizabeth in 1998 got her an Oscar nomination. She got close to maybe winning, and then she gave great performances in The Talented Mr. Ripley and the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and Veronica Guerin, and The Aviator, which got her an Oscar trophy in Supporting Actress. Then she's in Notes on a Scandal, and Elizabeth the Golden Age, and I'm Not There. All 3 films get her back to the Oscars. And by 2013, it just seemed inevitable. If she got the right role in the right project at the right time, Best Actress was going to happen for her, and Blue Jasmine was that movie for her. I mean, talk about getting to show everything she's capable of. In comedy, in drama, in distress, and disturbances. Cate Blanchett just storms through that movie like a bat out of hell, and you are just loving every moment. It is such a thrill to watch that performance. Blanchett firing on all cylinders in Blue Jasmine. Again, nobody else in her category had even the slightest shot in defeating her on Oscar night in early 2014. That Best Actress victory belonged to Cate Blanchett.
Sit down, you're too old to be standing.
And now that takes me to the number 1 slot. This is my favorite acting Oscar win of the 2010s in any category. In Supporting Actor, Supporting Actress, Actor, Actress, this is the best one. You know who I'm talking about, right? It's Natalie Portman for Black Swan.
It's my turn.
What a frickin' cool Oscar win that is. Natalie Portman and Darren Aronofsky's Black Swan is just one of my favorite performances of the 21st century. And that movie being kind of a genre film, not being the kind of movie I feel like every Academy member would have necessarily enjoyed, I wasn't sure walking out of Black Swan in December of 2010 if she was going to win the Oscar. I knew she'd be nominated. She's so mind-blowing in that movie from beginning to end. Like, it's such a tour de force performance. I knew the Best Actress Oscar nomination was already locked up. But I wasn't sure, just because of the subject matter of Black Swan, if she would be the chosen one. If they'd actually give her the win. And I was just so delighted and relieved when Natalie Portman for Black Swan won at Golden Globes, and Critics' Choice, and SAG, and BAFTA, and on Oscar night, I was able to sit back and say, holy shit, this doesn't happen all the time. It definitely doesn't happen every year, or even every few years, but the best performance of the year, 2010, Natalie Portman in Black Swan, went on to actually win the Oscar. She had been doing such great work since the 90s in The Professional and Beautiful Girls and Anywhere But Here. Her Oscar nomination for Closer is a great one, and kind of like Cate Blanchett, I would say, Natalie Portman seemed destined for an Oscar win. In supporting actress or lead actress, I wasn't sure, but I did feel like Portman is so bonkers talented. If she can get with the right director and the right material, she could win an Academy Award, and it happened for Black Swan, and I couldn't have been happier. Best Actress at the Oscars that year was a stacked category. All 5 of those performances are amazing, and I do feel like in another year, any one of those performances could have won. Annette Bening for The Kids Are Alright, Nicole Kidman for Rabbit Hole, Jennifer Lawrence for Winter's Bone, and Michelle Williams for Blue Valentine. Just frickin' wow. Like, what amazing work by those 4 women. Any one of those performances would have made a good victory in a different year. But in 2010, come on. That was the year of Natalie Portman in Black Swan. She is beautiful and powerful and absolutely terrifying in that film. She gives one of my favorite performances ever, and it is the #1 Best Actress Oscar win of the 2010s.
Most importantly, my family, my friends, and my love. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for watching and subscribing, and let me know in the comments below, how would you rank the Best Actress Oscar wins of that decade, and we'll see you next time at the Awards Contender.